I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
And
We
I am
disagree.
proud, and I'll
We
tell you
disagree.
what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting.
How do you see the thing? How are we going to get out of this?
Well, Johnny, I think that one of the things is that people keep looking to government for the answer, and government's the problem. Yeah. First of all, the American people, if they would just take a little inventory and look around, you triple our troubles, and we're better off than any other people on earth. And we've asked so much of government, and we've gotten in the habit over the last 40 years of thinking that government has the answers. There's very little that government can do as efficiently and as economically as the people can do themselves. And if government would shut the doors and sneak away for about 3 weeks, we'd never miss them.
Martin Luther King said that a leader is not a searcher of consensus, they're a molder of consensus. This country needs to shut down, and you all need to suffer. I told you to go on a general strike. You know what you said? I have a job, I can't afford to. I have a job, I can't afford to. I can't afford to. That's cool, great. So now you're going to be forced to be uncomfortable. You're going to be forced to lose your job. You were unwilling to be uncomfortable. When you look at the civil rights movement, they were all uncomfortable. Solitary confinement. Look what happened to John Lewis. Kaepernick lost his job. Many people were beaten and mistreated, but not white Americans. Nope. I can't afford to. Oh, I don't want to be uncomfortable. Oh, I have a job. Yeah. That's called white privilege, and that's what you're still hiding behind is your whiny little shit. Me, 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 me. Look what happened in Nepal. They stood up, and they took them out of power. You don't think those people live paycheck to paycheck? You think they're all rich? No. They did what was necessary to stop what was happening to their country. But you're not even willing to be financially uncomfortable. So now you're going to be forced to. Yes, I hope the Democrats find a backbone and don't shut it down. Do I have any faith in them? No, none, zero. But this country needs to go through this. And remember this for the people that chose to be privileged and not to be uncomfortable, how you stood behind it and watched people in concentration camps, women losing their pregnancies, people passing away. You saw people getting their arms dislocated. You saw women and men having their families broke up after 40 or 50 years, good people, and you stood by and goes, well, that really sucks, but I'm not going to stand up for them because I have to worry about myself. They're just a stranger. Cool. Then you remember that when you lose your goddamn job because you choose to sit there and watch other people suffer while you lived off of your crumbs.
Wagwan me family, welcome back to my YouTube commentary. Now, the United States government is just days away from a shutdown. White America is in shock. Why? Because their government is shutting down. Their jobs, their comfort, their security, all are hanging by a thread. Okay? And what they never wanted to admit is now undeniable. The empire they thought would last forever is crumbling before their eyes. Personally, I never knew I'll live a day to see where America is having problems with debt, with white people or Americans, not only white people, but Americans losing their jobs, Americans making videos crying because of what's happening. And today, I want you to stay with me because we are going to break this down, what it means by shutting down. But before I go down on that video, I want you to watch these clips and then we come back and talk more.
The United States government will shut down in just 3 days, and if things don't change, well, it's going to impact a lot of people's lives. Number one, thousands of federal employees will be either furloughed or completely fired, losing their jobs for indefinite periods of time. Some will be fired completely by the Trump administration. In addition, many military families will be impacted because they too may be placed on furlough. National parks will close pretty soon thereafter a government shutdown begins. Eventually, if it lasts long enough, critical programs like Medicare could be impacted in terms of enrollment. And that's not all. The longer it goes, you theoretically could have reduced TSA presence at airports, which means longer wait times at airports, and so much more. A government shutdown is now 3 days away. The federal government is funded through September 30th. If they don't reach a deal, Republicans, Democrats, well, it's going to shut down on October 1st. And right now, all signs point to a government shutdown beginning at midnight on October 1st. So spread the word because this is important. Follow along, stay updated on all the news you need to know about. I will have much more to come very soon, so stay tuned. The United States government will shut down in just 3 days. And if things don't change, well, it's going to impact a lot of people.
Idiot liberal, you're still not listening to my fucking videos, now are you? This literally happened at every time we're near a government shutdown. Like, it's nothing to do, per se, with President Trump. It's Congress. Congress will not be able to come up with a spending agreement until the last minute. Like, literally the last minute. You just wait and see. Even if we have a shutdown, it's only going to last maybe not even a week. And they'll come to a deal. They'll raise the deficit and come back to it later. Stop looking for clicks and views. Listen to me now. They're going to come to a deal. They did it all the time under Biden. They did it all the time under Trump. It's going to come to a deal. Literally last minute, they're going to come to a deal. It's happened under every single president for the past couple decades, I should say. For the past at least over 20 years, I can say. It's happened where they come to a deal last minute. So they're going to come to a deal. Stop looking for clicks and views. It's nothing really to do with Donald Trump. It is Congress. You know, it is Congress not being able to come up with a spending agreement. It is our whole government. It wasn't Biden when Biden was president. It was the whole government system. So stop looking for clicks and views. It's going to come to an agreement last minute.
The United States government will shut down in just 3 days. And if things don't change, well, it's going to impact a lot of people.
So, if there's a government shutdown and all government employees are going to be affected, I'm wondering if people aren't able to pay their rent, are they going to be evicted? Because the government shut down and it's the government that pays them. So, what's going to happen? Is there anything in place so people don't get evicted or anything? Like, what about all the people that get paid through Medicaid to be a home health aide? Is there anything in place for them?
We all have to get behind the Democrats calling for a shutdown. And Trump supporters, I am talking to you too. We need the Affordable Care Act subsidies to become permanent. And over 50 conservative groups are urging Trump to let them expire. And let me tell you, this is one example of the math. A couple who are 55 years old, collectively bringing in $85,000 a year, currently pay, on average, in healthcare premiums, $7,500 a year. If these Affordable Care Act subsidies expire, their premium, are you listening to me, Trump supporters? Their premium jumps to $24,000 a year. So while the billionaire class continues to become ungodly wealthy under this administration, private healthcare insurers and all of their executives are going to make a shit ton of money because they'll get to charge you another $17,000 a year. Just a couple making $85,000 a year. A lot of us don't make that much. Who can afford to have 25% of their income go to healthcare premiums? We're just going to become uninsured. No one's going to be able to afford that. Are you ready for this, Trump supporters? Instead of owning the libs, can we not all get together and agree this is really, really, really bad and it's okay to jump sides one issue at a time? Can you do that to save yourselves? Please.
All right, listen, I need you to hear me. There's a 5-alarm fire happening in this country and Donald Trump is pouring gasoline on it. He just said that he wants to inflict maximum pain on the American people. And of course, his administration is going to go right along with that. Let that venomous phrase sink into your brain. Maximum pain. He does not give a single damn about who this hurts. Our own fucking president, the man who swore an oath to protect and serve the American citizens, is publicly relishing in the thought of our suffering. Us, our families, our friends and neighbors. He is salivating at the chaos. This isn't the old playbook. Any government program that isn't funded by September 30th, those employees won't be furloughed. They will be fired, flat out terminated, adding to the already 148,000 federal workers who have been fired or forced to resign since the beginning of this year. These aren't just numbers. They are families. These are people with mortgages, car payments, sky-high energy bills, expensive groceries, and many with kids in school. They are being thrown to the wolves so that Donald Trump can make a political point. His attitude is simple. We have a government shutdown, then we have one. He is shrugging his shoulders at the collapse of our basic services. The deadline is in 4 days. At midnight, September 30th, the clock runs out. If there's no deal made, then we enter a shutdown October 1st. And in a twist of cruel irony, or is it, that is the exact day that the new tariffs that he imposed in the dead of night last night will slam into the economy. Tariffs on pharmaceutical drugs, imported trucks, furniture, and other goods. So picture this, because this is the future they are designing and a stark reality. A mother, a federal employee, gets a termination notice. She loses her health insurance. And on that very same day, she goes to the pharmacy to get her child's asthma medication. And the price has exploded, more than doubled, because of the new tariffs. She is left with no income, no insurance, and a bill that she cannot pay. This is not a government. This is a weapon aimed directly at the heart of American people. They're not trying to govern, they're trying to break us. So I have to ask you, America, and I ask this with every ounce of urgency that I have, what are we going to do about it? When are we going to do more than just march in the streets?
Donald Trump and the Republicans are threatening to shut down government because they rather take health care away from millions of people than keep the government open. Look, at the end of the month, the federal government runs out of money, and that means Congress needs to pass a new budget. But here's the thing. This budget fight is about saving health care for millions of people. Health insurance premiums are skyrocketing. Hospitals and clinics are closing. Cancer treatment for children is being canceled. Why? All because Republicans in Congress gutted health care like the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid. But rather than address this healthcare crisis, the Republicans just want to shut government down. It's amazing the lengths these Republicans will go to make sure that a visit to the doctor is even more expensive. Republicans need to get serious, restore healthcare, and avoid a government shutdown.
Again, America, why is it that every time American politicians get into a fight, they shut down the whole government? Like parks, museums, offices locked up, workers furloughed, millions of people treated like pawns in a schoolyard scrap. And watching it from up here in Canada, I think most Canadians are sort of like, you guys don't have a plan for this? And if you're about to ask if that's ever happened in Canada, the answer is almost never in modern practice, because in Canada we use the Westminster system. And in that system, if the government cannot pass a budget, we don't padlock the country and tell everyone to take an unpaid holiday. We have an election right away. The Governor General dissolves Parliament. We all go to the polls. We vote out the idiots, and we vote in people who can pass a budget. It's happened before. Joe Clark's Conservative minority fell on a budgetary confidence motion in 1979.
The government has lost a vote on a matter which we have no alternative but to regard as a question of confidence, and I simply want to advise the House that I will be seeing His Excellency the Governor General tomorrow morning.
In 2011, Stephen Harper's Conservative government also fell on contempt of Parliament charges for refusing to share the full budget numbers. But because this is Canada, the lights stayed on. Your passport got stamped. Your grandmother still got her old age check. Why? Well, because nothing comes between a grandmother and her bingo night. And also because the bills that keep things running were already passed. Public service doesn't just lock the door and go home, which is why, I think we Canadians are so puzzled that a country that constantly brags about being the best in the world appears to have designed a system that lets politicians hold their own country hostage. Every shutdown down there feels like a rerun of the same bizarre play. Act 1, The parties refuse to compromise. Act 2, everything closes. Act 3, everyone scrambles to put everything back on again. It is absurdist theater where the script never changes, the actors never learn, the audience keeps paying for a show that they never wanted. But it's not a show. Real lives hang in the balance. We are not perfect here in Canada, but at least here we skip the drama. We don't shut it down. We vote it out.
So now you've just heard the news that the United States government is shutting down in the next 2 days from the date of me making this video. And if what's happening in America right now doesn't change, millions of people are going to have their lives completely ruined. Now, to put it simply that even a dog could understand, funding for government operations is set to expire in just 2 days. That is, unless Congress passes a continuing resolution or full appropriations. However, the US judiciary warns that it may not be able to actually sustain operations beyond the date if no funding deal is actually met. And unfortunately, emergency funds are already running out. And now because of this, OMB have actually asked federal agencies to prepare for mass layoffs, mass firings, and mass reductions. And this is in comparison to just temporary furloughs if no legislation is actually passed. Now, this is horrific for a number of reasons, one of which being obviously that this is going to be impacting millions of Americans at such a short notice. And of course, even military families are going to be impacted by this, as they too are going to be placed potentially on furlough at best. Even national parks are set to close once this government shutdown actually takes place. And what's even scarier is that depending how long this government shutdown actually is, critical programs such as Medicare or other welfare or healthcare programs will be affected as well. And all of this is happening within 2 days of you watching this video. As if a deal is not made between the Democrats and Republicans within Congress by the 30th of September, yeah, we're gonna see what's gonna happen.
Welcome back. The United States government is just days away from a full shutdown, okay? And that means that funding runs out of at midnight, September 30th. Okay, so if Democrats and Republicans don't make a deal, if the government will literally stop functioning, okay? And this isn't just politics in Washington. No. This is survival for millions. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees will be sent home. They'll be sent home unpaid. And certain when they will return, maybe some will face a permanent layoff. Families will struggle to pay rent. Families will struggle to buy groceries or cover medical bills, okay? And white America, for the first time, this issue is not about white people only. It's about every and each American. But I'm saying white America to be specifically because for the first time, a long time, they feel the sting of a system that they believed that will never fall them. Okay? For the first time, white America are living a nightmare that, you understand what I'm saying? And black people ain't surprised that much because despite of having the difficulties, but because they have lived shutdown after shutdown of their dreams, their neighborhoods, the schools, the hospital, of the social amenities have been forlorn from justice, laid off from equality, denied fundings for generations. So when the government collapses for white America, it feels new to them. But for black people, it's history repeating. It is the system finally turning on those who created it. And for decades, they told black people, work hard, trust the system, the government will take care of you. But right now, even the so-called privileged ones are realizing that the system was built on sand. And when you build a house on sand, someday it will fall. Now, let me talk about the impacts. National parks closed. Families can't take their kids to enjoy the lands. Airports crowded, long lines on TSA, delayed flights. This is because workers are forced to show up with no pay, or they stop showing up at all. And here's the irony. For a number of years, when black families couldn't afford vacations, they were told that they were lazy. Now, white families with money in their pockets will learn that even wealthy can't buy them access when the system itself shut down. And one of the most painful blows will be to military families. These are the same families who believed in the American dream the strongest. They sent their sons and daughters to fight wars abroad, to defend USA power, to uphold white supremacy globally. Now, they are finding out that the government they fought for doesn't even have money to pay them on time. How does it feel? White America to realize that loyalty doesn't guarantee protection. Even the judiciary system is warning. it can't sustain operation past October 3rd. Think about that. The same courts that lock up black men for petty crimes, the same system that uphold racist policing, now they can't even keep their lights on. Black people have long been victims of this so-called justice system, and maybe, just maybe, this shutdown is the universe forcing America to look in the mirror. And right now, white America is panicking. The new outlets are full of interviews with white workers asking, how will I pay mortgage? What about the healthcare? How will I feed my children? They're asking questions. You have heard the videos, okay? And this is just the reality black people have been living for centuries. And some black people are saying, welcome to the reality, okay? And for black people, it wasn't temporary shutdown. For black people, it was permanent denial of opportunity. And let's not pretend that this is natural. No. DJT and his Republican allies are fueling this shutdown. For me, I think they want deep cuts, reduction in workforce, and permanent layoff. This is not about saving money. It's about restructuring America in a way that hurts the vulnerable the most. DJT is telling agencies to prepare reduction in force plans, permanent cuts, and that means that this isn't a pause. It is a purge. And again, who will hurt the most? Black communities, brown communities, working class people. But this time, white America is also on the list. White Americans are also caught in the crossfire. Okay? So brothers and sisters, I'll say this. This is bigger than just politics. This is the fall of an empire. The United States once told the world it was the land of stability. Even just lately, DJT said it. But now the world is watching chaos unfold. Investors are nervous. Global partners are shaking their heads, and America looks like a nation that can't even manage its own bills. Okay? Africa, take notes. These very people who told us we couldn't govern ourselves, take notes, are now proving they can't govern theirs. And this is the time for Africa to rise. Because while America collapsed, we must not repeat their mistake. We must build systems rooted in self-reliance. We must build systems rooted in community, in love of our people. We must protect our youths, invest on our future, and never let outsiders dictate our survival. The US government is shutting down, but Africa is rising up. And the truth is simple. White America is now living through the pain black people have warned about for years. They can no longer hide their privilege. They can no longer pretend the system works for everyone, because the system is failing them too. And in the future, the tables are turning. The same black people who are ignored, the same black people who are mocked, the same black people who are dismissed, they now hold the wisdom, the resilience, the survival strategies that white America desperately needs. Family. Now, what most people don't realize is that America empire isn't just built on guns and military power. It is built on money, constant money, flowing endlessly, printed without pause. But when the government shuts down, even for a few days, that flow is interrupted. And federal employees don't get paid. Constructors lose jobs. Small businesses that depend on government contracts collapse. Even grocery stores and gas stations around federal facilities feel the pinch. So this shutdown isn't just Washington politics. It is a chain reaction. And the chain reaction proves the truth: America is fragile. For years, white Americans laughed when black people said the system was fragile. They thought government jobs were safe, secure, untouchable. But right now, the fear has entered their homes. White families in suburbs, white families in suburban neighborhoods are commenting, are crying how they will pay their bills, And this is why they are panicking, because for the first time, their privilege doesn't shield them. Their comfort doesn't protect them. The empire is failing them. The empire is failing them, just like it had failed black people. And when the government decided who works without pay and who gets sent home, the question becomes, who is essential? TSA officers are essentials. Border patrol, essentials. Military, essentials. But teachers in federal schools, scientists in federal labs, park rangers protecting nature, they are told, you don't matter. Go home. Go home. Okay? There's nothing more painful than being told go home. We'll tell you. We'll call you when we feel like it is pain. So this should shake America to its core, because the people who truly keep society functioning are now being labeled as non-essentials. And let me paint the picture here. A single mother working for the federal government in Washington, D.C. may be told she's furloughed, she can't pay rent, she can't buy enough food. And meanwhile, Congress still gets paid. Senators still collect their checks. That's hypocrisy. I don't know if you see that. The workers who keep the nation running are starving, while the politicians who shut down continue living in luxury, and America dares to call itself the land of justice. It's just like what they called Africa. Uncivilized. They said we are. They said we can't govern ourselves. We all know that Americans love to travel. Yeah. And that just picture airport filled with chaos, passengers stranded, flights delayed for hours because TSA agents are working unpaid, because air traffic controllers are stretched thin, because the government can't even fund safety. It is more than inconvenience. It is danger. And when workers are exhausted and unpaid, mistake happens. And these mistakes cost lives. And this is the reality America is facing. Shutdowns are not new. America has faced them before, but this one is different. Why? Because this one is coming at a time when the economy is already shaking, when influence is squeezing families, when global powers are rising against US dominance. It is not just another shutdown. It's a sign. It's a sign that the empire is weakening. It's a sign that the history is repeating itself, just like Rome, just like Britain. Okay? And black people in America are watching with a knowing smile because they want them. Black Americans told them the system cannot be frustrated. Black Americans told them that you cannot build on lies, on exploitation, on oppression, and expect internal stability. But they didn't listen. They called black people complainers. They called them victims. Now, who is the victim right now? Who are the victims of the very system they worshipped? Privilege is a bubble, okay? Privilege is a bubble, and for centuries, white America lived inside that bubble, leaving the storm outside could never touch them. But now the bubble is cracking, and when it cracks, they are forced to face the storm that black people have endured for generations, and that is poverty, that is insecurity, fear of the future. This is justice, not revenge, but balance. The universe has the way of leveling the field. The universe has the way of balancing the field. Do you know who else is watching? The world. Leaders in Africa, Latin America, Caribbean, Asians, they are watching. They are watching the US stumble. They are laughing because the same America that lectured them about stability, about democracy and good governance cannot even keep its own doors open. So how can a nation that shuts down every few years lecture Africa about leadership? And as I said earlier, it's a lesson to Africa. Okay? How? Africa must not fall into the same trap. Okay? We must never rely on a system that can collapse overnight. We must build a strong foundation rooted in community, in agriculture, in self-reliance, in love for our youth. Must never wait for handouts from the West, because if the mighty United States can feed its own workers, what makes you think it can feed your kids? What makes us think as Africans that it can feed our kids? It can never do that. White America loves to preach about fiscal responsibility. They tell the poor, don't spend what you don't have, live within your means. But look at their government right now, trillions in debt, unable to pass a simple budget, shutting down because they can't agree on how to spend money they don't even have. This is hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy at its finest. The same people who call Africa corrupt are now proving that they can't manage their own country. This is too big. I remember I saw a video of a white professor, this white economist or white politicians, American politician, telling Africa that they need to colonize Africa again because Africa cannot govern themselves. So, who is laughing now? Africa is rising right now, and we are getting good leaders who are able to govern ourselves. The youth of Africa are right now standing on leadership stance, So this is hypocrisy at its finest, okay? Now, many older white Americans depend on federal services. They depend on federal checks and stability. And they are now panicking. Even if programs like Medicaid aren't directly shut down, but the fear alone is enough to shake them. And the truth is, fear kills faster than hunger, okay? Anxiety eats away the heart. And now millions are testing the fear black elders, black older people have been living with for generations. For example, food stamps, nutrition assistance, all of these programs are at risk of shutdown. And that means children go hungry. That means mothers skip meals to feed their babies. And for years, white conservatives mocked black mothers who relied on food stamps. They called them lazy. But guess what? In this situation, white families in small towns, white families in rural America and suburbs will find themselves in that same line, hungry and vulnerable. Okay? And this, as I always say, it is not just about politics. This is so much spiritual. The ancestors are watching. The Creator is watching. Justice is flowing like a river. America enslaved millions, but its empire on the backs of Americans. America enslaved millions, built its empires on the backs of Africans, are now in its arrogance. It collapses from within. And this shutdown is a symbol of a bigger disease, moral bankruptcy. You cannot enslave, you cannot colonize and oppress without paying the price. So the shutdown is America warning shot. I'm so happy because young people in America, including white youths, are waking up. They are seeing the lies. They are realizing the government doesn't care about them. But African youths, we are rising and we are building and we are refusing to let all the system chain us. While America shuts down, African youths must rise, and we will lead the world into new era. Tell me what you think on the comment section about this video. Until next episode, peace out.